So contemplate the results of it so far, what you've been doing and the result of what you have been doing or not doing. Not as a criticism, but as a reflection, to see. You have to learn from experience so that you're actually observing where your weak points are, or where your strengths lie. Because of the lack of structure, how does that affect you? Do you find you use the time well, or do you feel you just tend to procrastinate, or dilly-dally, or escape, or what? Know what you tend to do. If somebody's not on your back, or checking you out, or telling you what to do, what happens? The holy life has to be one of self-reliance, and we have to motivate ourselves, and so therefore it's learning to develop this sense of commitment and doing things, not as a compulsion, but as a way of training, so that we don't, if we just left to our desires, we aren't always going to feel like meditating or sitting or walking practice, but we still do it, especially when we don't want to do it. It's more important to do it when you don't want to than to do it when you want to. Just to go against that kind of mind that just follows what you want and don't want to do. To go against the momentum of desire. So when you're really eager to get in there and really get in the meditation hall and sit, and when you really don't want to bother, how do you deal with that? Or you can just feel guilty, or just dismiss it, or have all kinds of defense mechanisms to get out of things, or to just live in a realm of fuzziness. If your mind is fuzzy, confused, and dull, it's because you live that way. You live in a world, you create your world out of those kind of conditions. With the kind of sloppiness, or say lustful tendencies, or kind of laziness or laxities, we have to develop a very strong determination, like with lust, when lustful thoughts or impulses come, we have to bellow out no. You can't with lust. You can't just say, well, no, I don't. Please go away, because lust is a very powerful thing. If one has a lustful nature, then you have to develop a very powerful response to it, which is to say no to lust. I've told you before, from down in your guts, in regards to lust, I've developed this incredible no. It's a very powerful, no bucking about kind of no. It's not a wimpy kind of no at all. There's no maybes connected to it. But it's something I've developed over the years, because seeing how things work and what a kind of lazy character I have, and how I can, really want to kind of play around and dilly-dally a bit and put things off. I'm great at procrastination. I've developed it for so many years, procrastination and half-heartedness, that one had to develop an equal tendency in that direction to prevent the lustful fantasies or impulses or desires to take over the mind. Because lust is the attractive force, isn't it? You don't lust after the ugly and the painful. You lust after the attractive and the pleasurable. So from way down deep inside, in your guts, you develop a roar, a lion's roar that says, no way. You develop an adhitthana means you say, I'm going to get up at 3 in the morning. You're going to get up, definitely. Not just, well, if I feel like it. And so you set your mind, you make those kind of determinations, strong determinations, rather than wimpy kind of maybes and if I feel like it, if I'm in the mood. Because you're developing a sharp edge, the Vajra sword, the kind of Vajra is like a sword or something incredibly sharp, a diamond edge that cuts through delusion. And the Vajra is a symbol of the Buddha, the Vajra mind, the Vajrayana, the Dhyani Buddha, Amorga Siddhi carries the double Vajra, and this Vajra is a symbol for all this cutting edge that we develop of wisdom that just slices through something, cuts off the root, cuts it at the root. It is not a dull, blunt kind of instrument, but it has to be developed. You have to develop this Vajra-like ability, which isn't suppression. It's not just it's not the ostrich with its head buried in the sand. It's a very clear, accurate, and precise tool of wisdom and knowing what to do, what not to do. The practice of being with things as they are. This is this isn't a justification or defense that the things as they are is how it should be. I'm not saying that life should be this way or that anything should be this way. Any one of us should be the way we are. It's not a matter of the should, is it? It's a reflection that this is the way it is. It's like this, in which we can at least recognize that at this moment it's this way, rather than jumping into all our ideas of how we would like life to be. Life is forever changing. The conditioned realm is energy and change, anicca, impermanence. So that's its nature, and it changes according to the laws of nature. That's just the way it is. But as our wisdom faculties develop, as we start using wisdom rather than just passion with life or indifference, then we can bear with the way things change when they go up or down, or pleasant or painful, or wonderful or horrible. These aren't important anymore. The quality, the present quality is not the issue. We're not making a problem about the way it is. We're recognizing that it's this way at this moment. And we keep bringing our attention to the Dhamma, like one step at a time, the walking or the sitting, standing or lying down. This is the way it is. There's consciousness, there's this experience of consciousness, there's the posture of the body, the 4 postures, there's the breath, the sound of silence. Then if there's thought or memory, if you're sitting and memories come into your mind, then you're recognizing memories are memories, rather than things you shouldn't have. You shouldn't be thinking about this or believing the memories are very important messages to follow up and think about and attach to. If you're contemplating Dhamma, you just, whatever you remember if you're seeing the Dhamma, then you're seeing that sanya is anicca, sanya aniccang, sankhara anicca. That it's rupa, vedana, sanya, sankhara, vijnana are anicca or anatta. Then you're contemplating Dhamma. So memory, even though it's very personal or very emotional, the mood or memory or emotion, all of this, no matter what its quality, whether it's fraught with passion and personal attachments, if you're practicing the Dhamma, then you're recognizing that all memories are impermanent. You needn't make comments about the memories. They can be good, bad, indifferent memories. You're recognizing, you're realizing impermanence of memory rather than becoming fascinated, repelled, annoyed, upset by the memories you're having. So that's in the four postures. When you say you're doing the walking meditation and your mind wanders, you keep reflecting that this is the way it is. We're conscious beings. There's consciousness operating. There's walking. There's breathing. Sound of silence. This is the way it is. This is Dhamma. This is just the way it is as an experience. This is not getting into personality, into greed, hatred, or delusion. This is just the way it is at this moment. Then if there's any kind of form of greed, hatred, or delusion, or what arise, then you're contemplating that as anicca. You're seeing the Dhamma of greed, hatred, and delusion rather than reacting to it with indulgence or suppression. The danger in understanding the theory is then you think you should be able to do this. Because you understand the theory behind it, you think you should be able to do it. As a kind of, in a practical way. Just sit here and then just see things as they are. You should be able to do that. But that's because you're still caught up in the idea that you're somebody that should be able to do something. And that's why I've been emphasizing so much on this retreat to get to that very source of delusion, the assumption that I am somebody who should do something in order to become something else. It's most helpful to be able to recognize that basic delusion. I am a person, and I should be practicing. And just because, and even though this is an assumption, doesn't mean we don't practice. It means the practice is no longer coming from a delusion. When we walk, we walk. And when we sit, we sit. When we stand, we stand. When we lie down, we lie down. There's breathing, there's consciousness. This is the way it is on this plane of human birth on planetary life. It's just this way. It's obvious. And we think it should be some other way. Who do you think you are anyway? God? That you think life should somehow be what you want? Life is like this. This is the way it is. And I don't like it like I want it to be otherwise. Is Luciferian conceit. And I want life to be. I think I have a much better view of what life should be than the way it is now. Or I should be something better than what I am now. Or Amaravati, or this monk, or that nun, or those lay people, or Britain, or America, or Saddam Hussein, or the whole lot. I mean, it shouldn't be. He shouldn't be that. Saddam Hussein shouldn't have done what he's done. There shouldn't be a war in the Gulf. Not fair. And it shouldn't. Things that happen at Amaravati, it shouldn't be that way. Monks shouldn't be like that. Nuns shouldn't be like that. They should be this way. They should be that way. And oftentimes you're right. Everything should be. It would be nice if everything were perfect. If there was no war and everybody was humble and generous and unselfish, and all of the monks, nuns were enlightened and wonderfully happy and loving and warm and giving and generous people. I mean, it'd be great. But life is like this. It's this way. And then you look at your own mind, and even though I can complain about somebody else not being, thinking that they're being too selfish or too callous and indifferent and not trying. And I can be critical of others and also see those same things in myself. I certainly can see that the problem really lies in the mind and not with somebody else. life in the community is, remember, is like this. Community life is this way. It's full of irritations. Living with people. I think human beings are the most irritating conditions on this planet. I can't think of anything more irritating than people. And so that it's just the way it is. Community life is this way. But remember what we're here for. We're not here to make the community into something, to try to dominate it, impose our will on it, or to try to make it become what we think it should be, or to just kind of passively obey and kind of submit like an imbecile to just everything, passive and blind acceptance of everything. I'm not asking for that, but using the situation of a community life for reflection, to see where because people are so irritating. It's very important to witness that, to know where we feel most threatened. Where do you feel most insecure and with other people? Where do you feel most threatened or most irritated or most critical? Or with who? What kind of people do you feel most kind of insecure around? And of course we can say it's their fault. I mean, that's not what I'm after. I'm not asking for blame. I'm not blaming anyone, but recognizing. And if somebody's even being aggressive in bullying me, even though they might be at fault in that way, the important thing is to see my own reaction to it, my own fear or resentment or anger or anxiety that comes from being threatened by somebody else. But here that doesn't happen very much, isn't it? We can assume that somebody else is trying to take over our position, or somebody else is this way or that way, or that people have different character tendencies and think in different ways and react to situations in different ways, and we can misinterpret it very quickly. I've made so many mistakes just by judging things on a very superficial level. It's by kind of first impressions. I don't trust first impressions and reactions. I don't trust what my conditioned mind says. I don't believe it. I know it. It's the Pavlovian dog. It's just trained. It's habituated to react in certain ways. It has no soul. It's not real. It's just a dumb condition. It's just a reaction. It's not anything truly sensitive or intelligent. It's just a stupid reaction a lot of the time. Like salivating when the bell rings. Because it's something totally artificial. Something taken on that has no relationship to anything real, but it's just been imprinted into the mind as a reaction. And that's the way most of your thoughts about yourself, they're just imprinted into your mind. They're not based on anything real. They're just false views that you hold on to, you believe in. Or what you think somebody else is. A community life is in the Sangha life. We're developing this very reflective way. We agree on this level of discipline and practice, so that this is what we're here for, to realize the truth, to realize the Dhamma. We're not here to become monks or nuns or authorities or experts or anything on the worldly plane. Remember, the samana is the reverse of the worldly situation, where we can say, I'm abbot of Amravati, I'm 25 years in the order, I'm very important monk. Big Ajahn, important monk, Mahatera and all that. I'm really somebody. I'm the big cheese in this outfit. I'm the teacher. I'm the spiritual advisor. That's all worldly thoughts, isn't it? That's the way the world is in the mind, isn't it? I'm senior to you. You're junior to me. I'm senior monk, you're junior monk. You're only a nun, I'm a bhikkhu. You're only an anagarika. You're a lay person. Who do you think you are? Some of the anagarikas I hear look down on the lay people. You're only a lay person, I'm an anagarika. It's the pecking order, isn't it, of the world. It's called the pecking order. But we're not. And if we're a bunch of chickens, then that's the way it is. That's the best we can do. That's why we're just chickens. But we're trying to get out of that realm of being chickens. So the pecking order is not what the song is about. But we can reflect on it, because it brings up, like if you're senior monk, senior nun, you can start being one who pecks at somebody below you. And these are worldly kind of instinctual reactions on the animal plane, and certainly understandable on that level, but for goodness sake, let's hope we can do better than that. It's not what the Sangha is about. Wanting to have power, position, authority, be respected, wanting to be praised, and all these are worldly. These are what we would seek if we were out in the world as lay people, and we were trying to make a name for ourselves in the world. We want respect, we want praise, we want wealth, we want position, all that. So, but remember, the Sangha is not is not meant for worldly gain. It's the reverse. It's a samanera. It's a relinquishment. It's a renunciation. Letting go, renouncing, relinquishing, all of those things. To be able to relinquish doesn't mean suppressing our feelings, but recognizing what the world is, knowing the world is the world, and not confusing the world as the Sangha. To know that the refuge in Sangha is not a refuge in a position, in a hierarchical structure. Some of the lay people look at it, well, they think they go by he's a senior monk, she's only a nun, she doesn't count for much. But the bhikkhus, they're important. Oftentimes in the Asian communities, the nuns don't count for very much, the bhikkhus are everything. That's the lay people's worldly mind, isn't it? That you get more merit, get more punya from giving to a senior monk than to a junior monk. Or you get more merit by giving to a monk than to a nun. These are worldly attitudes. This isn't Dhamma. This isn't truth. This is the sense of me and mine, wanting to get merit, wanting to get the most merit I can by giving to the most senior monk. Remember one time in a really rough time one year at Wat Pa Pong, because Ajahn Chah was away for a long period, for 4 or 5 months. He wasn't in the monastery. And there are about 50, 60 monks and about 70 nuns living there. We were hardly getting anything to eat, because nobody wanted to come and feed us. As soon as Ajahn Chah came back, then they'd all rush in, pots of food, and food would be abundant. And Ajahn Chah would say, you only come when I'm here with all this food. He said, I can't eat all this food. I just only need a little bit. He said, but you want to give me the food. You aren't giving to the Sangha. You're giving to a person. He'd chastise them, scold them, trying to get them to realize that whether he's there or not doesn't make, in regards to merit, and punya is nothing to do with him receiving the food. It's the wise intention, the purity of the intention, the the compassion, the generosity, the goodness, the skillfulness that we use. It's superstition to think that you gain more merit by giving to me than by giving to someone else. I'm not saying the most senior monk here. I think if you give to Ajahn Sumedho, you get more merit than if you give to Ajahn Munindo. But if Ajahn Sumedho's here, then let's give it to Ajahn Munindo, because you get more merit by giving to Ajahn Munindo than to Venerable Wat Pa Pong. I mentioned Tanasapo right at the end. But at least you get more merit by giving to him than to Anagarika Michael. Or Sister Sundra. Get more merit by giving to Asapo than to Sister Sundra. But you get more merit by giving to Sister Sundra than giving to Jitindriya or to one of the Anagarikas. And that kind of spurious logic there, I believe, but it is a bit stupid. So not a matter of how am I going to get the most merit? Is that selfish? And how do you get merit? What merit is there in selfish actions? But we do have these, our minds do work like that. It's easy to the conditioned mind easily falls into those ways of thinking, out of heedlessness, ignorance, not understanding truth. It's easy to be foolish and do things and be insensitive and just follow biases and prejudices and opinions. It's very easy to do. We all know that. But when we develop this Vajra mind, this diamond sword, this incredibly sharp edge that cuts through delusion. You don't develop that by half-hearted efforts or by stupidity and selfishness. You have to know, you have to really recognize the laziness, the half-heartedness, the procrastination, the defenses, all the things that one tends to easily fall a victim to. Not as a suppression, but a recognition. We have to know what laziness is and the result of it, of not wanting to be bothered. What does that feel like? I've listened to my mind. I say, because I'm quite a lazy person actually, so that I don't want to be bothered. I can't be bothered with that. I don't feel like it's not important. I'm not here for that. And I think, and I contemplate, is that really a mental state that I want to develop? I can't be bothered with this. And when I listen to it, when I really pay attention to my wimpy and whinging mind, conditioned mind, I know that I don't want to be that way. That is something I don't want to develop or follow. But it's not suppressing it, is it? I'm really paying attention to my fears and my problems and desires. I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm observing them. There's this sense of attentiveness, but it's not critical. It's reflective and investigative. Is this a mental state? Is this a skillful mental state you want to develop? Like, I can't be bothered with that. I don't really feel like it. It isn't really important. And after all, is that a mental state that leads to peace and calm and to understanding of Dhamma? If I follow that, well, then you know for yourself. The answer is obvious. But it's not because you're trying to become someone who's not lazy. You're actually observing laziness or procrastination or the tendency to put things off or dismiss or not pay attention to it. You're observing, you're knowing it, you're investigating, you're learning from that, rather than just feeling guilty about it, and just trying to avoid and dismiss or suppress your feelings. That's why to bring into consciousness these conditions of your mind means to listen to them, to see that, to be aware of them for what they are, not to just be caught in judging, reacting to them on the emotional level, on emotional plane. For example, if I feel anger or something, then if angry condition arises, and then if I investigate anger, and I say, there's anger here. What does it feel like? What is my mind if somebody has offended me? I think, oh, that person, I don't like him, he should never... And then I reflect, is this the kind of mental state I want to follow? Do I want to become somebody like this, that's offended and upset by what somebody else has said or done? So there's an acceptance of the anger, but not an indulgence in it. And neither is there suppression. It's a recognition of it for what it is. Now here at Community Life, the lay community has been incredibly thoughtful and considerate. The lay people that have come to help in the preparation of food and in their tea and drinks, well provided for. I want to express my appreciation and gratitude to the dedication that the lay people have been showing towards providing us with delicious meals and very good drinks. Thank you very much. Now for the samanas, if you're a samana, then that's the right reflection. I hear some of you don't complain about things still. So I want to make it very known that if any of the samanas complain to the lay people about the food or the drinks, tell them to stuff it. Because as alms mendicants, we're not here to comment on the quality of these things, because they're offerings made to us by the lay community, and therefore it's not for us to weigh its quality, or whether we like it or don't like it, or too much or too little, or too sweet or too sour, or too strong or too weak. These are, but we can observe our mind, can't we? We can observe our own reactions to things. If we get served something we don't like, well then observe that feeling of not wanting or not liking it. I'm not asking you to like everything, but to use this opportunity for recognizing what defilement is, what kilesa is. Like if the tea's too weak, or you want tea to be strong, and instead the tea's weak, and you think, oh, they didn't make the tea right. That's a defilement of your mind. It doesn't matter whether the tea's strong or weak, as far as the samana life goes. It's just whether somebody's made something to offer us. That's what it is. It's something that people have made to offer to us. And it's not a matter of whether it's to our worldly taste and our high standard. That's not the issue. Because our reflection is on the very act of giving, and on our own position as samanas. If I was king, if I was really the big cheese in this outfit, If I was king of the world, then I'd tell you exactly how I wanted everything, how I wanted everything done, and I had to have this standard and this quality and this, the best of this, and you have to put so much in, you have to do this way and that way, and if it's not like that, I'm going to fire you, I'm going to get rid of you, off with your head. Because if I were king of the world, I'd have that position to make endless demands on you to give me the best. But I'm not. I'm a samana. I'm a beggar. I have no power on the worldly way. I do not take power from the world. So I am dependent. I'm a dependent being on the goodness and kindness of the people around me. And that's what I choose too. I'm not a beggar and a mendicant as a kind of like say in India, where a lot of them just have no choice in the matter. You're born as a beggar, and then you spend the rest of your life just kind of scrounging for a rice grain. But this is a position I have chosen to become an alms mendicant, to depend on the goodness of others, so that I can become aware of my arrogance and my selfishness and let it go, because this is what the mendicant life is for. We can really recognize the nature of arrogance, conceit, discontentment. Because remember the four requisites, the rag robes. Just think when you get, say if you get some tea that you don't like, weak tea or something, and you didn't made properly, you think, well, at least it's not fermented urine. One of these days I'll ask the lay people to serve fermented urine to you. And that's a good reflection, isn't it? That sounds like I'm being facetious, but remember the fourth requisite of medicine is fermented urine. And these teas and things that are served here are considered medicinal, for medicinal purposes. They're not for taste and for pleasure. So that we're looking at them as offerings, as medicines. Now, that isn't a euphemism either. We can expand medicines into things like warm drinks have a certain warming effect on a cold day. If you've been, in this weather, one gets quite cold. So warm or hot drinks are quite helpful in warming us up. Not a matter of that. It's just a kind of indulgence. It can be a mere indulgence, or it can be a medicine. Chocolate and cheese can be medicinal, or they can be just indulgences. And when we laugh, we think, chocolate's a medicine? Ha 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 ha. Because most of us think of chocolate as an indulgence, don't we? We think, well, I want some chocolate. But it can be a medicine, can it? It has has some nourishment to it, and it's energizing. Cheese is very good medicine in cold weather. It's very warming to the body. On a cold afternoon or evening, a piece of cheese really warms you up, gives you some energy. So it's not a matter of just kind of being, using them as euphemisms, calling cheese and chocolate as medicines and then snickering, because that may be how you look at it, but I would encourage you to develop a more skillful way of looking at these things, not to call them something they aren't, but to learn how to use these things for what they're meant to be used for, to help us in our life as alms mendicants, rather than things we use for escape or for indulgence or just take and not even contemplate or not reflect on what they really are, or how to use what is made available to us and how to use it as Dhamma practice. So when a bhikkhu gets on his high horse and goes up to a layperson and complains about this or that, and you're only a layperson, I'm a bhikkhu, then that bhikkhu is filled with defilements. Recognize that a bhikkhu that comes at you like that is just a kind of a convention as a bhikkhu, but not a bhikkhu in his heart. He's still very much somebody who's become something, who thinks he's above you and can tell you what to do. Western people, we have very arrogant tendencies anyway. I mean, we have to be very alert because we come from very arrogant civilization. The Asian race was dumped here on planet Earth as a punishment because we're certainly very aggressive as a race, aren't we? Very aggressive and arrogant and conceited, and we've got these are just seem to permeate European, Western, Caucasian civilization. So that this is, but we don't have to be this way. I mean, if we are just Caucasians, Europeans, and that's what we are, there'd be no way out of it. But the fact that this is merely a karmic condition, not to be identified with, not to be attached to, then we can transcend this arrogant tendency or conceit or selfishness or self-concern. And that's what we're here for. That's what the Sangha is meant to be. It's meant to be the community of Supatipanno, Ujupatipanno, Yayapatipanno, Samijipatipanno, those who practice the Dhamma in the right way, sincerely and properly and honestly. With the four requisites, you see the reflective nature of our life, how we have these reflections. This morning we did the Patisanga reflection, the four requisites. So this developed this. This is the rag robe, the idea of that the Buddha allowed us to collect rags. We can scrounge for cloth. If we don't have a robe and we need to have a robe, we can go and collect the rags that the lay people throw away. We can scrounge around in the charnel ground, in the Oxfam or wherever, in the tips, find any bits of cloth and sew them into a robe. That's the Bhangsakula Chivara. But then, you notice here in Britain how people rush to give us the nicest textiles you could possibly imagine. I've never had to scrounge in the tips and rubbish bins of Britain yet to make a robe. I mean, the people are so eager to give me robes. I could wear a new robe each day if I wanted to. I have a whole wardrobe of beautiful robes. If I wanted them, all given to me. I'm really, I'd like a still kind of maybe a gold lame robe, kind of beautiful golden silk robe for Sundays, and then the Gamaton robe for Monday, and Burmese robe for Tuesday, Sri Lankan robe for Wednesday. Because life is very abundant. I mean, we get very well provided for, but that's not what we're in this life for. To have a wardrobe, to have a variety, a lot of choices, and what we feel. What do I feel like wearing this morning? What suits my mood this morning? Go to the morning chanting, the gold lame or the. Don't have to think like that. You just have one robe and put this on, the Sangati, the same robe day after day. It makes life very easy. But the reflection is on the on the fact that it is based on the rag standard rather than on a high quality of textile. So then, and when we think this robe, no matter if it's, it's always better than, all the robes we have are better than if we'd had to go and scrounge around for bits and pieces of rags and rubbish tips and so forth, isn't it? So then we feel gratitude. This robe was given to me. Like one evening, Ajahn Sumedho and I were contemplating this. He says, everything I wear was given to me by someone. He says, I know that this jacket was made by this monk, and this jumper was given to me by so-and-so, and this... So you have, in some way you see that you're wearing the cloth that has been given to you by somebody who makes that offering. So that is a quite beautiful way to contemplate, rather than whether you like it or don't like it, or it's good. Maybe you'd like a better quality or whatever. That's not the issue, isn't it? That's not what we're... But we can be aware if those thoughts arise, as those are worldly thoughts. They arise, they cease, they're dhammas rather than truths to hang on to. The alms food. Here we have porridge in the morning. We don't have to have that. The lay people make that and offer it, but we really, one meal a day is our standard, isn't it? One meal. Of alms food, of what's put into our bowl, is our standard. And yet we think we should have porridge every day. We get quite upset, couldn't you? Some of you really get quite angry with the lay people if they didn't provide you with porridge tomorrow morning. I could hear some of you grumbling, getting angry because they didn't give you porridge in the morning. Who do you think you are, anyway? So that this is a reflection on the bindabata, that which is put into the alms bowl. So this porridge is a medicinal offering. It's kindness of lay people, the anagarikas or whatever, to offer this. But it's not to be regarded as that they have to give it to us. And if we feel like that, then see that as a defilement, that we've got this thing, that we've got to have this porridge, and it's up to them, and you have to make it, and if you don't do it, then I'm going to really get angry with you. That is a whole kind of sequence of kilesas, not to be believed in or attached to. Then when we go on bindabata, go on collect food in your alms bowl, then think of it in that way. It's just food that people have prepared, put it into your alms bowl. That it's the meal offered. But you don't think that the lay people have to give you the food. That it's their duty to make this food and give it to you. That's the wrong view. That you're here and they are here to feed you. Really try to let go of that attitude. That's how it seems sometimes. The lay people come to feed us. But don't take it for granted don't be one who believes that that's how it should be seen, because that's not a skillful attitude, not a skillful way of looking at it. That's not what an alms mendicant is about. That we will take what they offer. We will receive in alms bowl what they offer, rather than they're here to feed us every day. You see what I mean? It's a changing from a worldly mind, a worldly way of looking at things. I'm a bhikkhu, and the lay people come to feed us, so they should be in the kitchen preparing the food. When I go there, they should balance diet and this and that, vegetarian food, and gotta have this, and I want that, And that's the worldly mind, the defiled mind. So we can observe if our mind tends to react in that way. We observe that this kind of these defilements, these kilesas are present. We can recognize them as dhammas. They arise, they cease. Not to grasp them, not to follow them, or to feel guilty about it, to suppress but to recognize that at this time this is the way it is. This feeling is in the mind, and you reflect on it as Dhamma rather than as something to grasp and believe and follow, or to suppress. With the shelter, the same thing. For the monks, the basic allowance is a tree, foot of a tree. For the nuns, they have to have some kind of shelter. They have higher standards than the bhikkhus. For some reason or other, they have to have a shelter. They don't have a root of a tree as their basic allowance. It's not fair, is it? But anyway, it's a humble shelter. It's not a really nice place, but it's just whatever is provided as a shelter. So when you go to your rooms tonight, really contemplate the roof over the head for one night. It doesn't mean that you can only sleep in there for one night, but it means that that's the reflection. Your mind is now contemplating that you can see the attachments you might have in regards to the room you have. This is a shelter for one night, and then if your mind goes, but I've got to have, that's the defiled mind going. I've got this is my room, and I need you can see by reflecting on this is a shelter for one night, any attachments, any defilements you might create in regards to it. Doesn't mean you have to move out to another room every night just to prove you're not attached. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking you to make life difficult, but to really use the reflections we have in order to see where you what happens to you, where you tend to get carried away, where you tend to get lost, where you tend to be very attached. Then with the medicines, the fermented urine is the basic requisite. So you've got rag robes, scrounged from the rubbish bin, alms food, which could be anything, any grisly tidbit that somebody drops into your alms bowl, a toad's leg or something like that. Shelter for the night, which could be at the root of a tree. Imagine sleeping out at the root of a tree in this weather. Then this fermented urine. Now that's about the lowest standard you can get, isn't it? You couldn't get much lower than that. Fermented urine, root of a tree, alms food and rag robes. But that's not a standard to grasp, that we have to have just that. We shouldn't have anything better, because the Buddha always allowed, if that which was presented was better, we can accept it. So when you have rag robes as a reflection, if somebody offers you a nice silk robe, you can accept it. But it's not what you're expecting or demanding from life. If your alms food, you accept a grisly piece of maybe a toad's leg or a roasted slug. But if somebody offers you something better than that, you can accept it. And root of a tree, if somebody offers you a nice room, you can accept it. But you're not demanding. You're not saying, I have to have the best. if somebody offers you fermented urine at, say, at 5 tea at 5, maybe we should change it from tea. I think that's wrong. I think that's misleading. Change it to medicinal requisites, medicinal substances. You can say at 5 o'clock the Sangha will be offered medicinal substances, which could be fermented urine. Remember, if you get the lay people angry with us, they could take revenge. Remember the power of those who feed you. Don't offend those who feed you. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. I've always been very careful to flatter the cooks in my life. Because I know the power they have. They could pee in the soup. So just good sense warns you not to go around being arrogant and insensitive to people that have such important positions in the world. And you're just a helpless beggar depending on the kindness of goodness of others. So hopefully the lay people will not do that. But if we act in an obstreperous and stupid way, I wouldn't blame them. They should do it. Just to keep reminding you of what a samana means, what an alms mendicant is about. It's not becoming a big shot or an important person. It's not having power and rights. You're giving up power and rights. And that you're giving up all of that. Your power over money, your power over the world to make it what you want, to get what you can for yourself. You're giving up that, you're giving away that power and rights, your own rights for yourself. You're giving up that. You're taking on a moral duties. And so morality is an important part of the holy life. To develop that impeccable morality as a foundation for spiritual development. You have to have a really, really strong sense of personal integrity and respect for yourself through moral behavior before you can develop any real spiritual qualities. Contentment with little and gratitude for what is offered. These are the virtues and that we develop in this life. We don't become gourmets and fussy and fuss budgets and people that have high standards and high expectations. And if we do, then we've missed the opportunity. We no longer are deserving of anything. If we're that way, we don't even deserve fermented urine. If we think we should have the best of everything and believe it and act on it, then we're not worthy of anything that's given to us. It's better to leave and just make money and get what you want. If you want to have all those nice things and good food and good drinks and nice room and the best medical treatments and all of that, then best to disrobe and get a good job, make lots of money, and so you can support your all these high standards you have. That's what the world is about. That's what worldly life is about. Is having a high standard, having the best, trying to have better than everyone else, keeping up with the Joneses. And this is what worldly life, worldly values. But we left that behind by becoming samanas, we've left that behind. That's not our way anymore. But we still easily slip back into those patterns, those attitudes. It's why we have to keep reflecting and remembering what we're here for. Because it's easy to forget and to fall back into the old worldly way of thinking and reacting to life.